Good morning! How is everyone? Hi. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this. You have no idea. And I just saw that my mom is in here. My package came today. It's just shown up out of nowhere, so that's exciting. I've already opened it. Okay, so before we get started, I always start the first video with a couple little tips and tricks and a little bit of a pep talk. So the first thing is that you need to try your best. And like, not everyone is starting at the same point. Some people have been stitching for a long time. Other people, this might be your first stitch along. So try not to compare yourself to everyone else. We're here to support each other, not to say, oh, mine doesn't look like theirs, or oh, mine is like not as good, or oh, her stitches are better, or his stitches are better. As long as you're doing your best and you're learning something, then that's all we want. So there you go for that. The other one is all the strands and stitches will be in the caption on Igtv and YouTube. So I'll just quickly show you where they are just in case, because if you miss it at the beginning of the video, then you can always just wait and go back to the Igtv. So here we go. So this is my profile. So if you go down here, you'll see all of these little icons, and you're looking for the TV one, so Igtv, and this video will be right there. So you can either do a series. If you click the series, it'll show you every video in that series, or you can just go to the first video. It's normally the latest one. So like let's see here, the day 18. And if you click the arrow, it might be at the bottom or it might be at the top. It'll tell you all the strands and stitches there. And that will be for every video. Well, that's the end, so it won't be on that one. So that's just a little details day. So this is kind of like all the things that we did that day. So hopefully that will make it easy. And it's on YouTube too, so that's always good. Just to have it there for you, you know what I mean? So that you, even if you don't have time to watch the entire video, you can still find what the instructions are. Does that make sense? I hope so. And the last thing is that the colors that you pick, I get a lot of questions about colors, and they're like, oh my gosh, I chose the wrong color, or I don't know what color to pick, or I don't know what's the right color. I've included a colored in copy on the pattern. So if you wanted to, you could have a look at that. You can color it in yourself, but really there's no right or wrong. So any color that you pick is absolutely fine. You can pick greens, you can make them a little bit like non-typical. So obviously it's a jungle, it can be any kind of color that you want. Do you know what I mean? So like, for example, the first ones, we're going to do some leaves today, and I'm choosing these colors. So nice bright colors for this one and this one. So if you don't have the exact same color I'm using, you don't have to copy mine. Like, do whatever you want. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Like, I promise you. I think that's pretty much it for that. I'm going to show you how to do a knot, and I'm going to show you how to separate strands, and then we're going to get started stitching. So we've got an easy day today. So we're going to do this one and this one. You can add some details if you want to, or you can just do a very plain, simple how we're going to stitch it. You know what I mean? You don't have to stop when I stop, meaning if I just fill it with a satin stitch and you go, you know what, this would be really great with an outline it. If you think, I want to put some spots in there, put some spots in there. Like, you can go above and beyond. So that's kind of why it's for beginners all the way until, you know, however advanced you want to make it, because you can really, really put a lot of details in the pattern, or you can just follow the directions and stitch it. That's totally fine too. Okay, so the first thing is how to thread your needle. A lot of people have a hard time with this. You can use a needle threader if you want to, but the way that I normally do it is I always trim all of these extra little threads off. So do you see there's one that's a little bit longer than all the other ones? Yeah, I like to just snip those off. So they're all the same. And I put my thread in between my fingers and I go like this. Okay, and you're going to put the eye of your needle right over the end. And then use that motion and it literally pushes it through all by itself. So then from there, you can pull it through and get stitching. So after you thread your needle, there's kind of two different ways that you can start it. The first way is that you leave a little tail like this, and you put a knot at this end, okay? Which means that you have to make sure that this doesn't fall out of the eye of the needle as you're stitching. So there's two ways that you can do your knots. The first way is you make a little loop and then put the tail in the loop like this. And always just hold the very, very end and then just pull that knot all the way to the end. So there's one way to do a tiny little knot. Okay, I'm just gonna snip that off. And there's another way to do a knot this way. This way meaning like if you wanna have the tail like that. And that's the quilter's knot. So you put your needle like this and you hold your thread just on the end, yeah? Just like that. And you give it a couple twirls, a little twist around there like that, okay? And you're gonna hold the knot and just pull your needle through. So you don't want to twist it around the needle really tight. You need it to be a little bit loose, but you're gonna hold it like this and you're gonna pull it all the way through. And then at the end, you get a little knot. So the more times that you wrap it around your needle, that's the bigger the knot you're gonna get. So if you've only got one strand or two strands, you can wrap it like 6 times and it makes a nice fat knot for you. So you don't have to keep trying to like loop it around. So let me just show you that one more time, okay? So you put it like this over. I like to hold it with my thumb, okay? And you twist it, and then you hold those twists, and you pull your needle through. So this is sometimes the hardest part because if you, like I said, if you twist it around your needle too tight, then it's gonna be hard for you to pull your needle through. And in the end, you get a little knot like that, yeah? So that's one easy peasy way. Some people really like to do it a different way, and that is where you double your strands. So it doesn't really work if you need 1 strand or 3 strands or 5 strands because you're going to double your threads over. So I've actually just pulled out a scrap thread, okay? So this is 2 strands, and say we need 4. You're gonna thread your needle, and this kind of traps your needle inside the loop. And you put the 2 ends together like this, and you make a knot at the very end. Okay? So now you have your needle totally encapsulated. Yeah? It cannot come out because we've got one big loop of thread. So if I say you need 3 strands, I do not mean 3 strands folded over. I mean just 3 strands. So if you love doing it this way, that won't work for every amount of strands, okay? But it'll work for some. So that's always fun. How to separate your threads. Now, there's 2 ways to do this too, as always. The first way is to pull every single strand out individually. Okay, let me just cut a small piece and I'll show you. So what you're gonna do, this is all 6 strands. I've just cut it straight from the skein. And you kind of like separated it a little bit and you just find 1. Okay, so say I need 2 strands. You're gonna take this 1 and hold all the rest and pull it out. So you've got 1. Now, some of you will think, Tori, we already know this, okay? But some people don't. So I like to go through a couple things before we get started so that people have some options. I also think sometimes the way that you've always done it may not be the right way for you. you know? Some people learn it from some way and they think, you know what, that's just, I just always have a bit of a difficulty doing it that way. So feel free to try a different way, or if you do it a different way than I do it, then that's fine too. So you put those 1 strands together to make 2 strands, and now you can get started. Okay, so there's one way to do it. The other way is what I call the Y method, because it makes a Y, like so fancy. Okay, it's really not. But for this way, you just pull 2 strands, because we want 2 strands, remember? And I hold them like this in my hand. Yeah, and I kind of untwist as I'm going and pull it like that. And now I have 2 and 2. So whichever way you decide to do it, that's totally up to you. I know some people don't even put knots at the very end of their thread. They just save it till the end and knot them all at the end on the back. And so the back is always like a bit of a party, because it's just like loose threads everywhere. Some people love that, and that is totally fine. So you do you, you find what works for you, and then do that, you know what I mean? So yeah, no shame in our game. So today what we're going to do after 15 minutes of chatting. So today what we're going to do is this little like palm leaf and this kind of bigger palm leaf. So I've chosen 2 colors, like I showed you earlier. I've got this like reddish orange and then this coral. So what you can do is choose 1 for each color, like 1 for each palm, I guess you could say. 1 color for each palm. All right. Or you could use 1 color for both of them and use the other color for like an accent or something. Or you can just ditch this color altogether and just stitch them all the same. All right. So like I said, you can get as complicated or easy as you want. And we're going to use 4 strands. So you're going to need to take 2 strands out. So I've already done that here. I've got 4 strands. Let me just thread my needle. I've made this thread so long. Typical, isn't it? Let me do a little knot at the end. So pretty much, I think what I've kind of planned here is 1 day for all the things and 2 days for each animal. So yeah, you can kind of like plan that out a little bit if you want that in that kind of way. Okay, so let's zoom her in, and I'll do this big one first, and then we'll do the small one, and we'll decide how we want to do that. My t-shirt is so big. That's probably good. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do just a regular easy peasy satin stitch for these leaves. I chose 4 strands because 4 strands is a little bit less bulky than all 6, and you'll get a little bit of a smoother look. You want, if you want a really smooth look, you can go even less strands. You can do 3 or even 2. You'll just have to do more passes. So if you've got a bigger hoop or a smaller hoop, you might have to alter your threads accordingly. You know, if you've used a smaller one, then definitely thread down. You know, if I use 4, maybe try 2 or 3. So what we're going to do is just do 1 long stitch down the middle, and then I like to fill in each side, and we're trying to get nice parallel stitches. So none of them should ever intersect like this, and none of them should ever intersect like this. So we're going to have nice long straight stitches. It's probably one of the most easiest stitches and the most difficult. So sometimes I like to put a little line down the middle like this. These are quite thin though, so we can probably get away with not doing this, okay? Especially since I just made those not parallel at all. Okay, so let's try. I like to also think about where you want to put your knot, because if we put our knot in the middle, you see we're going to have all kinds of stitches that go around the middle, and it's going to really crowd up that area. So I always try to think of where can I put my knot where there's not going to be a lot of stitches and not make me feel annoyed. Okay, so the first stitch is right down the middle. You want to make sure that is right down the middle, so we don't want to put it over here, just straight down. So the traditional satin stitch is you go up on one side and down on the other. And on the outside edge, you want to follow the edge. So this is kind of where if you traced it a little bit wonky, like maybe I did, then you can kind of fix that as we're stitching. Or you can make the leaves a little bit more round or shaped a little better, you know, before you get going. Okay, so the next one's gonna lay right next to that. Okay, and then the next one. So the traditional satin stitch is you always come up on one side, you always go down on the other. Now there's also a thread saver version. I don't know if that's what it's really called, but that's what I call it, is the thread saver version. And that's where you literally save thread. So there we go. We're just doing our long satin stitches until we fill up that side. So on the other side, I'm going to go straight to the other side at the very top and finish this leaf. And that's what I said earlier, is that there's a fly stuck in here. Is that sometimes one side of the leaf will be a little bit bigger and some of them will be a little bit smaller. So if that really bothers you, then you could always make them a little bit more symmetrical or plump on the outside. So not kind of a straight line here. Instead, make it a little bit more round. So feel free to change the pattern if you choose to do so. I'm not gonna like be upset or anything like that, I promise. And I have seen these comments. Hannah says, I cannot wait to see that little baby bump peek over the table. And Mel says, same. And Jess says, I just want to say congratulations. So happy for you. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so this little leaf is done. We're gonna go on to the next one. Okay, and I'll show you the thread saver one on this one. So I'm gonna start from the bottom this time. Go all the way to the tip. Okay, so instead of coming all the way back down to the bottom, I'm going to stay up at the top. That's where my last stitch was. And let me just say, you guys gave me so much advice. Someone said, can you please share it? Like a lot of people said, can you please share like all the things that people wrote in the boxes? So I went through and screenshot just one of the boxes, all of the answers, and I have like 35 screenshots. Is like so many. Okay, so we've started here, we've gone to the top, then we've gone to the top to the bottom. We're gonna go from the bottom back to the top. So we're just gonna do one little stitch over. So we need to go back and screenshot all the other ones. Okay, and it's exactly the same. We're back at the top, so we're gonna stay at the top, go one little stitch over, and back to the bottom. Now, when I flip this over, you're really going to see a difference between these two leaves. So this one will be exactly the same on the front and the back. So the front is completely covered and the back is also completely covered. And this one, you're going to see nothing in the middle, just at the top and the bottom. So let's see, where did we end here? That color looks stunning on that background. Yes. Actually, I saw it in my box and I was like, I have to use this one. I have to use it for something. And that's why I've colored it in the pattern, like such a bright color. So I was like, oh, it's gonna look so pretty. Do I need one more? Maybe I could do one more. And then I'm just gonna flip it over so you can kind of see what I mean. Okay, so notice all of the stitches are nice and parallel. I'm not sure if you can tell so much, but all the stitches are nice and parallel. None of them are angled down or angled up. And let's just flip it over and you can see the back. All right, so we've got the first leaf where I did all at the top and all at the bottom. So the front and back are completely covered. And then the second leaf, you have nothing in the middle, just at the top and the bottom. So if you're running out of thread, you can always say, oh no, I'm just gonna do the thread saver mode and try and win that thread chicken. See who gives up first, the thread or yourself. And like I said earlier, there's lots of things you can do to kind of like zhuzh this up a little bit if you feel like one color is just not going to cut it for you, and you would like to do a bit more, because that's literally me for everything. Whenever I do any kind of stitching, I'm like, oh, let's add an accent. Oh, let's add an outline. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's add some spots. Okay. Let's add something else, because you get a little bit carried away. So if you are like me and you get a little bit carried away, there's lots of things you can do. You can add an outline in the same color or a contrasting color. You could do, like in the pattern, it shows some straight stitches down the middle. So literally just one straight stitch down the middle. You can go all the way down the middle, or you can go like 2/3 of the way to just make a little like starburst effect, you know? So it would kind of look like this. Let's see if I can do this. You know, it kind of look like boom, boom, boom. You can change colors, like I said before, if you want to do this one a different color or swap the colors. I think that's what it shows in the colored in version. Is I did like this one in that color, and this one in this color, and then for the accents I've swapped it so that you get a little bit of an accent. Mel, what? Me? OTT? LOL. Yes, over the top. It's totally me as well. Because sometimes you just need to add that like extra thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's the same with a lot of things. Like this one here has got some lines in the middle. There's a couple options you can do for that. And this one here actually has spots, and then each side is a different color. So we've got one color on this side, one color on this side, and then we've also got spots. So if that's a little bit too much for you and you're like, whoa, I'm just starting out, I don't have very many colors, or I just cannot be bothered to do that, which is also fine. Like sometimes you've only got 10 minutes or 20 minutes. So you might not finish, you know, today's lesson, like in the allotted time, and that's okay. Like just do what you can do and then be done. Like don't stress out. Like if you're behind, it's fine. Like I always get people really stressed out, like, oh, I'm so behind, and oh, I'm never going to finish. You do not have to finish on the last day. You do not have to. Like I have a couple people who still haven't finished last year's stitch-alongs, and that's all right, you know? And what I've just done there is if you see one of your stitches is kind of humped up a bit and not laying nicely, you can always take your needle and just run it along the edge like this, and it kind of helps to blend the stitches together and makes it not like pop up. And we're going to stitch straight over this little frond here. So that would look really pretty in the middle. Yeah, I think so too. And like, you don't have to use the same colors. I know I always say it, but people get really stressed out if they can't find the right color, because some people, they just want to be told what to do. And I totally understand that. Like they just want to know what's the color. I don't have the color number for this actually. Like I almost wish I knew I was going to be doing this when I started embroidery, because when I first started, I like didn't care what the colors were. I always knew I could color match it later because I did art in university. So we had a lot of color theory. We had a lot of color matching. We had a lot of like make this color from scratch using like just red, blue, and yellow type thing. So for me, when I started out, I was like, well, I don't have to write the colors because like I know I can match any two colors. Like humble brag. I'm so good. But then when I started doing this, I was like, oh no, this is not good, because everyone's asking what color it is, and I genuinely do not know. And I remember I got the color chart from DMC, but I didn't get the fabric one, not fabric, the thread one. I only got the, like the printed copy. Oh, that was a mistake. Always get the thread version, not the printed copy, because then I was telling people what color I thought it was based on the print, their printed out version, you know? And sometimes they were not correct. So yeah. Okay, so how to finish the back. Some people just leave this, like I said, and they just like carry on going and they just tie them all at the very end. But I like to tie them now because I find that these tend to get all like mixed up and like knotted and stuff. So again, 2 ways you can do it. The first way is to separate the threads. If you've got 3 threads, you can do 1 and 2. If you've got 4, you can do 2 and 2. If you've got 6, you can do 3 and 3. I think you kind of get it. And you just do like a regular old knot. Okay, 1. I do like 2 or 3 when I do it this way because I feel like it makes a smaller knot. I don't know why. I also really have to do my nails. Okay, the other way is to make a loop and put the tail in just like we started. So you're gonna make your loop like this. Okay, so you've got your circle there. Can you see it? And what I like to do is put the eye of my needle inside the loop and right down where I want the knot to go. And then when you pull it, the knot goes all the way really close to the fabric. Now you can't really see, but because I've got the knots at the beginning, but it's just made another knot right there. And then I just snip off. Gotta sharpen my scissors, I guess. Then I just snip off the extra. So again, whichever way you choose to do it, let's just zoom out for a minute. So that's what it looks like. So whatever way you choose to do it, it's fine. Like don't stress out, okay? So I'm gonna take the 2 strands that I used before and measure another length of thread. That's what you hear. That's the sound that you hear. Pull 2 strands out. Yeah. And then I can put these 2 strands and those 2 strands together to make 4 strands so I can finish either doing details or whatever. Hello. Okay, so I got those 2 together to make 4 for later. And then do my little needle. I'm itching to start. That orange is, thank you. I love it. It's like a reddish, bright. It's like really like nice and bright. Oh, it's so fun. I love these kind of summer stitch-alongs. Like last year we did the Sea Life stitch-along, and I just love it because it's colors that I wouldn't normally use. Like I wouldn't use these kind of colors like every day. You know what I mean? I tend to go for more like a muted, like a soft pink or, you know, like a lilac or something like that. Like, but these ones, you can really go wild and like use colors that you might not typically use every day, which is so fun. And if you ever, I should probably ask you, is it Charles? Or do you want to be called Charlie? Charles_Lamerton. Because I don't like calling people names that they don't like to be called. And usually I'll try to remember everyone's actual name. So I like know your screen name. Gosh, it's so like AOL. Like your username and your Charlie. Okay, good. Good, because I didn't want to be like, oh, Charles said. And then you'd be like, I don't like it when people call me that. But yeah, like I try to call people like by their actual names. So I'm not like, I don't know. It's the teacher in me, you know? When we had to like memorize everyone's names to like 500 people. Ooh, 500 people in the building. Because obviously teaching art, I taught everyone. So I taught every single class. So like if you've got a class of 28 kids, but like if you've got 5 of those classes for year 3, I taught all 5. So I had to learn 5. I had to learn the whole school's names. Like I knew everybody. But it's nice to know what people want to be called. And like, I don't know. It's like we're going to be spending a lot of time together, so might as well, eh? She said, "You are so sweet for asking." I try. Someone's dog is not happy. I can hear it through the door, and the door's closed. So yeah, this is kind of the end where I start to like stitch really fast because I'm like, oh, it's been 30 minutes. I should probably wrap it up. But yeah, I tend to go like 30 to 40 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. Because the longer I go, the longer it takes to upload to YouTube. And like all the plant sanctuary ones were all really long. And I feel like that probably had something to do with them not uploading or getting stuck uploading. YouTube just said it was a glitch and then they should all be fine now. But I've since tried and it's still doing it. So you'll notice there's only 7 videos on there still. I'm actually a Charlotte, but I was only called that if naughty as a child. Oh yeah. My family were all T names, so when we were being naughty, it was like Tori, Toby, Tuffy, Tiger, because we had a dog called Tuffy and a cat called Tiger, and my mom would like just say all the T names and be like, "Oh, whatever you're called, get over here." And we'd be like, "Oh no, she's flustered. It's not going down well." We are in trouble. But my full name is Tori, that's it. So yeah. So it was always a Tori and then your middle name. Oh, the fly is over here. It's so nice to have your like windows and doors open because there's no screens here. It's like, oh, the flies, they just come in, don't they? Love the name coordination. Yeah, actually, we were just talking about some of our friends last night who named all their kids. She's got 5 kids, and they all start with a C. And I was trying to remember all of them, but I couldn't remember all of them. I was missing one. So 4 girls and a boy. All of them have C names. Yeah, I do have... I have a brother called Toby, and then I have like a half brother called Ty. But he's older than us, so older than me and Toby. Me and Toby are 2 years apart. I must have this piece a little bit longer than everything else because it keeps getting caught in my thread. Morning, Jamie T. Oh, I've got your sunglasses. I almost just called it string. Your sunglasses chain. They didn't have the pearl one. I meant to message you yesterday. They didn't have the pearl one, but I bought you the other one. So I will send it off in the mail today. A nice bright start. Yes. Okay, and then the last thing that I like to do when I think I've finished it all is just kind of stand back and have a wee look, because sometimes when you're like stitching it, you're like, oh, I'm nailing this. And then when you like look back, you're like, whoa, some of these are not how I wanted them to be. Okay, so we're making sure that all of them are kind of round. We don't want to have any that are like sticks in the middle and then square on the outside. We want them to be quite nice and round. Again, if that's not your thing and you're like, I don't really care about that, I just want to be done with it. I just want to stitch it. That's okay too. Don't worry about it. But like, I immediately see that this one is not like as round as the other ones right here. So I'm just going to fix that real quick, because you still got the color on. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult when you're stitching it to be like, is that right? Is it not right? Okay, so I'm finished with this. And then I'm going to show you the accent, and then we'll probably be finished for today. So today we're doing this one and this one. Okay, so I'll just stitch this full one for you in the live, and then I'll have this one done before tomorrow, just because of timings, etc. So let's just do a little knot there. Where's my orange ones? They're way better. And then let's grab some of this other color, this nice bright one here. And it depends on how you want to do this. If you want to do a bunch of little details in here, like maybe you want to have it, okay, like one down the middle and then a couple on each side, like that. Use less strands because you'll be able to fit more lines in, all right? You could also do something like this, where you have just one down the middle. You can use more strands because it will be a bolder line, okay? So just have a little think about how you want to do it. If you do it this way, all of these here are gonna go through the same hole. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 7, or however many that you think you can fit, or 3, or whatever. It just depends on what you like. If you go all the way down just one, you can probably get all of them through the same hole, or just about around in the center. Because if you look really closely here, I haven't actually put all of these here down the same hole. I've made each leaf their own separate leaf. Okay, and that helps to make it not as congested here. Because sometimes what can happen is if you get too many threads going down in the fabric hole that you're making, because that's what we're doing here, is we're putting holes in the fabric for your thread to go through with the needle. This hole will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, it'll just get a bit too difficult. So you'll find yourself really pushing the needle through and having to really, really pull. And it shouldn't be like that, you know, it shouldn't be like so difficult. So again, if you want a thick line, 6 will probably be fine. I'm going to use 4 or 3 and do just the one line down the middle, like 3/4 of the way, and see how that looks. You could also like ramp it up a bit. I keep saying like zhuzh, and use more than one color in the middle. So if you wanted to do like 4 strands of one color and then 1 strand of another color, just to like give it a little pop, you can do that too. Like there's no right or wrong way here, you know, but it's just fun to experiment. It's just so fun. Like I genuinely love this job so much. It's like, honestly, it's the best. Okay, let's just tighten that again. So you can either start in the middle, but again, like I said, with the knots, we want to try and keep the knots out of here because it'll get really congested. So I'm going to go up here. You want to go straight up wherever you want it to go. However far up, you know? And then straight down. And another thing I like to do is kind of plan where I want to put it. So I'll go up here, and then you can really plan it by just laying it down, and then you know where your next stitch needs to be. And that's really beneficial for your satin stitch too, because sometimes you think, oh, I've nailed that, and then you actually make the stitch and you're like, she looks drunk. Because I swear that's not where I put it. So far, all of these have gone down through the same hole in the middle. This one will go all the way because half of it's hiding behind this little tail here. There must be a knot there or something because I can feel it. Got a little wee leaf here. If you've bought the advent calendar, the group will be open today. So it's already getting a little bit difficult for me to push this through. And I've done 7, 4, 8, I can count. You can really pull it. Now, when you really see it start to pull down like that, that's when you're going to get your fabric starting to get loose. So a big tip I have is before you even get started, give your fabric a nice tug all the way around the outside here. You can't really tell, but I'm pulling it. And give the top where your hardware is a nice twist. Make sure it's nice and tight before you start, because we do not want to have any ripply fabric. You don't want to have any saggy fabric. You don't want to be able to put your finger on it and it kind of go down like really far. So just have a think about that before you start. Oh gosh. Okay, there we go. I've done it. I did it. Now, obviously, without the 15 minutes of me talking at the beginning, this would have been 30 minutes of stitching, because it's now 10:42, and I think I did a good 15 minutes at the beginning, just like saying hi, etc., etc. Didn't even say my name. I'm Tori, your host. Oh, ridiculous. So there. We did it, guys. We did one. So at the very, very end, I normally zoom out so you can kind of see how it looks on here. I did not do the stem. I've just realized that. So well done teaching, Tori. You can do the stem in the contrasting color if you want. That would look so nice. Again, just a couple straight stitches like the satin stitches to make it go right from behind there. Or you could use the same kind of red orange that we used before. It's completely up to you. Or you can choose a different color. That's all right as well. And then always at the end of every video, I always say, if you're going to post your progress in your stories, make sure you tag me. When you tag me, make sure there's a line that goes underneath. So maybe I should show you real quick, because a couple people in the last couple stitch-alongs were like, I tagged you every time and you didn't repost it. Please don't be mad at me. And I'm like, oh, honey, I'm not mad. It's just that I don't see them all. Okay. And if you're private, I won't see them at all, period. So it doesn't matter how many times you tag me. If you are a private account, I won't be able to share your work. Okay. So I'm really sorry about that. So here we go. So let's just choose one of these. All right. And what you can do is you can either swipe up from the bottom and you can mention, and then you can start typing, and the people will kind of pop up. Obviously, I'm tagging myself, so it's going to take a while. Okay, this is one, and you can tap it. Oops. You can tap it, and it will like be different colors and stuff. The other way is to just do the @ all right? And then I'll normally pop up, but make sure it's got that line underneath. So if you do not have the line, it will not tag me, okay? So if you just kind of write it out, well, now it's done the line, so I can't show you. But if you click it like that, I will not see that because there's no line underneath of it. It's just like a regular text. An excuse to show off that pattern. Charlie, you're awful. I do love this pattern though, but it was like the last one on my thing. Okay. And the other thing is you can use the Barmy Fox SAL. Let's see here. Oh, nope. The Barmy Fox, Tori Fox. Like figure it out. So it goes like this. And then this is where all of your posts will actually show up. So if you go to recent, these are all the most recent ones. So obviously people have been using the hashtag for this stitch along already. And you can see the people, like obviously that's me. And then you can see all kinds of other people's work. So I really encourage you guys to please go to the hashtag and kind of give everyone a like or add a little comment if you want to. You can also scroll down. There's all kinds of different ones. And if you go all the way to the bottom, you'll get older and older and older stitch along. So this is all the plant sanctuary stitch along. I tag all my own stuff with the Barmy Fox SAL if they are stitch alongs. So some of them will be my work, obviously. And then now we're getting into the garden with anchor crafting. So you can see everybody's work there. So That's always so, so, so fun to be able to like interact with each other and give some likes and comments and love. And let me tell you, like, it does not get old. Someone being like, oh, I love this so much. Like, it, honestly, I still love it. And I've been doing this like for years. It really does mean a lot. You can also post in the Facebook group if you want to, just a regular Barmy Foxes Facebook group. You can join there. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. So that's all. Day 1 is finished. I'm absolutely sweating. It's so hot in here. But yeah, I hope you guys had a great time. Don't forget to finish your second one. Tag me, post it in your stories, show off your work. And yeah, I cannot wait to stitch with you tomorrow. Okay? That's it from me. Bye.